Hi, my name is Lokesh Reddy. Today I am going to present about the topic data management in application server. And this topic is collected from the research paper written by Dean Jacobs. And according to these papers survey data management techniques used in application server. And it begins with an overview of application server architecture and the way they have evolved from the area transaction processing system, and it then presented tags from the cluster services that differs in the way they manage data in memory and non-disk, and the treatment of conversation state is discussed in a depth in the research paper. And finally this paper describes a persistent layer that is designed from tightly integrated with their application server. And I have gone through this research paper and I have collected the information from the research paper. According to the research paper, I have done this presentation slide, and let us go into the topic and let's go to the introduction. So now we will briefly going to the outline. So we will be focusing on the introduction part of the data management in application server, and later we will discuss about the importance and challenges and limitations and at least references. So first let us go into the topic clustered application servers. So here, now Java to enterprise citizens have the application server platforms. Those are Java server pages, enterprise, Java beans, Java messaging service, Java database connection, Java connector architecture, Java naming and director interface, Java transaction API. And so now, and application server such as a WebLogic server and evolved from a distributor TP monitor and the year of 1990 to meet new demands imposed by the internet. Significance among these demands is supported from loosely coupled flags, which is communicate using the vendor neutral industry standard protocols, charges HTTP. So typically use of these application servers are likely e-commerce is used for a catalog browsing and purchasing of a consumer goods and new portals. We will use we will use for personalized consolidations of a news from multiple sources, and even through financial management control of financial buildings or holdings such as a bank accounts or stocks. These all are we used by application servers such as a servers. And from the above we can clearly see that the client to WebLogic server to database is there is the transform of data from HTML client to proxies like a OTD Apache, and through this data will be sent to database through WebLogic server like JX or RIS 2.0 servers and events and avatar and top link data service data management. So data management, according to the research paper, it serves data management techniques used in the application servers. In this paper, it identified three basic type of cluster services like stateless, cache, and singleton, and the difference in the way they manage data in memory and on disk. These service types provided different way of relaxing acid properties of transactions. As an illustrations, the paper discussed about how WebLogical Web behave, server uses the service type to implement J2EE, the Java platform for application server, and the J2 double supported variety of applications. Program interfaces including is serverless components, messaging, database access, and naming, and like this. Much of the data maintained by application servers has its primary copy in a back-end database. However, there are a significant amount of this data for which conversational database are less than ideal, and the paper outline requirements for a persistence layer that is designed for a tightly integrated with the application server. And the paper organized in server architecture and taxonomy and the cluster service. Let us see afterwards, like from all the three clusters services mentioned in the research paper, stateless is one of the cluster service, and mainly this service do not maintain the state between invocation, and they may be loaded state from a database or other back-end systems into memory, but only for the duration of an individual. Location stateless service may maintain a non-application state, such as aggregate monitoring information or collecting to be in end systems, and application servers provided a variety of stateless services, including components such as EJB stateless sessions, beams, and objects factorial such as EZB homes, and GDP connection pools, WebLogical server implement cluster services like using a lightweight multicast protocol. Each member of the cluster advises in the instance of the stateless frequency to offer the WebLogic RMS of or service obtain this information and uses it to make a load balancing and failure decision. And for example, because the request did not leave the server or the operation was declared be a idempotent here. And for example, we can see clearly from the image that is business microservices is sending an information to stateless service to SQL database are known as a SQL database. They separately store the stateless microservices. According to the research paper, content for a interrupting sequence of related request examples for those are the servant session states and state format services. Conversational state can be kept in a shared database and access to the established service. Each time a request arrived, alternatively to improve performance and scale amount, conversation state can be made in a memory, and so mainly it can be maintained in a memory. And in this case, it become a data owned by a single term service, such as a web container, and is migrated in the event of failure. If required, the data must be written through database, resulting in improved efficiency only for rate of durability. Can be relaxed when the data can be replicated to the so passive secondary or another server, or simply lost in the event of failure. Here we can see here from the above image we can see clearly that here it's a content for the uh, intermittent sequence of related requests from it is about to pass the information from content delivery server from one country to session state server to collection and that collection from the traveling to session thread server, and so after that is the going finally to destination, the deliverable server. So through the session state server, and now let us discuss about ca- case service. Case service is one of the clustered service for application servers, and in this let us know what is the case service and what is the importance of case service and why it is used, and that does it memory it is maintained memory maintained or not. And cache service maintain the state between invocation but keep it only loosely synchronized with the primary copy of database. In database or other backend systems, cache data may be direct copy of backend data, or it may be the result of application level processing the backend data. And for example, the cache might contain a relational rows of these rows might first be transferred into objects HTML or XML, and in this case where the data is copied from the backend, it may be updated by the service and written through the database to prevent a anomaly. Then the service must protect the data using a optical congruence control gas. Data may be written to a local disk to avoid requiring it after restart to recovery memory. And Research paper transactional reads is very important, and we can have a safely if we have a copy of data in a database. And in our daily routine life, we use that uh, daily. So when the amount is deposited, then it will reach the enter the data into database. How much amount debited? So to have a particular calculations and to have backup plan if the data is lost. This transfer, thus the transactional reads is very helpful to us. So this is very important in our daily life routine life, and daily we will use ATM. So how much amount we have withdrawn to give us signals from the ATM machine, it reads and then it will be written into our database. So so then here we can discuss about the optimistic servers, and it can be maintained in the memory and it is presented, and the ABS provide stateless services and EJB entity. And now let us EJB identity, and we can discuss about optimistic servers right now. And I have ever seen web project server also provides an option to be keep gas density like being consistent with the back and database using the optimistic occurrence control, but only for the transaction that includes a write in addition to being used across the transaction. This option can be used within a single transaction to increase the database and occurrence of since to no database logs are had in the either case. During the transition, the container keeps track of the initial value of certain fields and either application level version fields or actually the data fields, and commit times. These values are compared with those in a database using the additional cloud in the update statement. And occurrence acceptance concurrence acceptance is thrown if they do not match the container, then sends a beam level catch evocation signals to minimize the likelihood of a subsequent concurrence. Exception overall, those updates does not ensure serializability. Its behavior may be desirable, and that is increases concurrence in acceptable way. Then it's also called as singleton. This instant has exclusive ownership of a certain data items, and this and let us see the singleton services importance and then why it is used and how we it is helpful to application. And let us see in the next slide. Yeah, here availability of singleton services and insistence of a single term services is exclusive ownership of certain data items which it is a free to maintain in memory update without danger of an amalgam. And if any instance of a single service fails, ownership of data must be migrated to some other memories. So this is not about another service of enable this instance of keep a current copy of its data in a shared database. In the shared file system or another server, it may also maintain a transient state that cannot be lost or regenerated after failure. Example of this survey. We are taking say, messaging quiz transactions managers administrator servers. Yeah, yeah. In this memory database and lock managers like this, these are all come under the example of single services. Till now, we have seen about the clustered application servers, and now from now, let us know about the adding web services from upcoming slides. Generally, WSDL is a web service description language, and it is used for describing a network and XML based on services. And it's provided a simple way for service providers to describe the basic format of request to their system regardless of underlying time, runtime, implementation. In this WSDL payroll transport neutral or neutral, but demands support for SOAP and HTTP, and it specifies a set of services signature of various types as one way receive a message and request a response to receive message and send coherent correlated message and so receive response send message and receive correlated messages like notifications and send message and implements interesting programming models. It can be implemented in the terms of J2 double east but demands at least special package engine optimizing. So we can see the web service programming model, and this is a unbiased model for synchronous RPC, and synchronizes messaging queuing should occur under the cover for any way messaging a type messaging a model like MSU components and unlike a JMC. And when we comes to peer-to-peer conversation service and an object on each side representing the state of conversation either side or initiate communication regarding the conversation have affinity but potentially long left time to the long transaction per service in an invocation. So this is all about this PPT, and thank you for this.